Thank you.
Pleasure of inviting. Wonderful. So just make sure. Yeah, of course. Nice to see you. Sorry, I'm a minute late. No, perfect. Actually, perfect.
We love your email. We love to share it with us too. Oh, good. Oh, I did something good in my life. Are we all right?
Take the lead.
And everyone is free to take this with you. It's a very interesting read. So you don't have to read it now, it will be in the past.
Why we have representatives? Probably just represent Hungarians.
Szabó. There's an empty seat right there. Could you remove that?
Then you can't open it. Closer?
Well, I do have
Concentration in environmental studies. I really much when I hear all this. That's right. It's obviously a big change.
I don't know if this event classifies as a Jewish event. I don't think it does because we're starting literally on time. Not on Jewish time. Understand?
Yeah.
Okay. You could continue eating. My late grandfather, the previous Rebbe, used to deliver a mini sermon after services while my grandmother would serve a good Hungarian potato cook. He would tell everyone, continue eating, And just listen to me while you enjoy it. So I'd say the same thing. We will continue the fruit, and I would like to introduce our guest. I feel very grateful for the opportunity to chair this luncheon and introduce His Excellency Szalay-Bobrovniczky, the Hungarian Deputy State Secretary for Relations with Civil Society, as well as Mr. György, Szabó, President of the Board of the Hungarian Jewish Heritage Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me explain. There is a small town in the Tokaj region called Szalay-Bobrovniczky. It is a small village on the Hungarian map, but looms large for many Hungarians who are of the Jewish faith. Indeed, the identification of tens of thousands of Hungarians are exactly that, Hungarian. They refer to themselves as Hungarian, even though they are third-generation American. It is fascinating to observe the way the Jewish community has retained its connection to Hungary, not only through the traditional methods of maintaining one's cultural identity, language, cuisine, but also in terms of religious expression. For example, all the various communities that trace its roots to Hungary refer to themselves by the town, village, or city to which they hail from. You will find it fascinating when introducing yourself to an individual born in the USA in 1969 and ask him where he or she is from. His response, Ira, right there. Ira. Right there, this side. His response won't be, I'm from Brooklyn, LA, or New Jersey. Rather, the response would be, my grandfather was from Budapest, my grandmother hails from Mad, or we trace our roots to a small village near Debrecen. That is why it is imperative to maintain this cultural identification. Needless to say, the further an individual is removed generationally, the greater risk of losing that authentic Hungarian persona. That is why I and so many are grateful to the Hungarian government that encourages Hungarians of Hungarian heritage, specifically those that trace their roots back to Szalay-Bobrovniczky, to experience the rich cultural and beautiful landscape that is part of Hungary that this particular region is known for. We have the Tokaj region, the wines, and all that. I want to thank the Deputy Secretary for his role in preserving the cemetery in Szalay-Bobrovniczky and facilitating its operational control so that the multitudes of pilgrims can pray undisturbed. I also want to thank Mr. Szabó for the important role he plays in furthering Jewish life in Hungary. We had the opportunity, I mean my wife and I, who was born and raised in Hungary, and what fascinated us most is that Jewish life is not only going on today in Hungary, but it is flourishing. When I say flourishing, I also want to highlight that it is with the active participation and assistance of the Hungarian government. Jewish schools and synagogue life is expanding along with a Jewish communal life free of anti-Semitism. We know because we were there. And we were there for an extended period of time, over several years, that led up to the agreement regarding the cemetery agreement that Michael so very well knows. To us, that is the barometer how to judge a government. That is the measuring yardstick on how to evaluate a government and a society in general. As important as it is to revere those that have passed on. And God only knows how important it is to me and my community. It is equally important, if not more, to set the conditions for Jewish life to take root and to set in place the policies to encourage a vibrancy which exists in Hungary today. That is why I asked for the Deputy Secretary's time today, so that I can share this message today and perhaps for us to engage in conversation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear Ezra, if I may call you like that, dear colleagues and friends of Hungary and of the Hungarian-American friendship, that we are all keen on bringing it to a bigger highlight. And you might know that the Hungarian-American relations are now probably in their best condition since years, as the two governments cooperate well with each other. The same goes, by the way, for the Hungarian and Israeli relationship. We know that today is election in Israel. So we are, of course, all interested who will win there. If I may, it's interesting because it's really interesting to know that in the opposition parties there are two politicians that have Hungarian roots. Israel and Mr. Gantz does understand Hungarian, and to my knowledge, his brothers and sisters, I don't know, the sisters, they even speak Hungarian. And the other one is Mr. Lapid, Yair Lapid, who is the son of the famous Tomi Lapid, coming from Szabó, which is now Serbia. But these people are a bit more critical with the Hungarian government as the reigning Netanyahu, who has no Hungarian roots. But that's how life is. So anyhow, let me introduce myself shortly, what I do and what is that is leading me to this great place here. My duty is now to deal with the civil society and with the Jewish community. But of course, you cannot put it into the name of the position that State Secretary in charge of the Jewish community. That wouldn't be nice. But the society part of my task is civil issues and society issues. The society is the Jewish affairs, between other issues as well. I only have the minister above me, Minister György, who you probably know, leading the Prime Minister's office, and of course we also do work for the Prime Minister directly in these issues. These issues are in the Prime Minister's office, which means that they are very important. That's why not, I don't know, the Foreign Ministry or any other ministry, but the Prime Minister's office. Before that, I used to be ambassador in Vienna and in Helsinki, and I was twice Deputy State Secretary in the Foreign Ministry and another time in the Prime Minister's office as well. Since 2018, I'm doing what I'm doing in the civil society and with the Jewish community, which is a lot of pleasure, a very interesting tasking for me, also because I'm a historian by profession, and everything that is belonging to the Jewish, Hungarian Jewish society has to do with history, with religion. So I'm probably a bit even more aware of the fate of the Jewish people in Hungary than some other would be who do not have these historical, I don't know, qualification as I had. Especially that I was a historian dealing with the 1930s and 40s in Hungary. So I do know what anti-Jewish legislation in Hungary means, or the Holocaust itself. So I'm kind of like, and I'm also interested in the Jewish life in Hungary. I'm on good terms with the Jewish leaders. You have to know that Hungary there are 100,000 Jews, more or less. That's 1% of the Hungarian society, so that's the highest number that I know in Europe. Of course, by the number, the Jews in France and in England are in a bigger number, but not by the rate. Out of historical reasons, the Jewish people are basically living in Budapest, as the deportation of the Jews did not, or only partially took place in the Second World War in 1944. But then it was stopped by the then Hungarian government and by the admiral in July. So, and the Germans didn't have the power anymore to push it through. But then came the Arrow Cross movement, the Hungarian neo-Nazis, and they killed thousands of Jewish people in Budapest itself. But there was no organized deportation anymore after that, because the job was unfortunately done before that. So anyhow, among the 100,000 people, we have 3 churches, acknowledged churches. It's important to know that the question was raised during the change of the system, how should we define the Jewish people of Hungary? And they asked for defining them as Hungarians, not as a minority. And also the fact that the Jewish organizations, the major ones, are churches, that gives them a lot of opportunity for financial support, as the churches have a lot bigger financial support as any other civil organization. So that's good for the Jewish organizations, that they are regarded as churches. The biggest one is, of course, the Neolog community, that's the Mazsihis. The second biggest is the so-called EMIH, which is a unified Hungarian Israelite congregation led by Köves. You probably also know Mazsihis is led by Mr. Heisler, who is already in the United States, just like Mr. Köves, but Mr. Heisler is now in New York, and Mr. Köves is now in Washington. Anyhow, there is a third one, the Orthodox community, which is the smallest. By the way, the Rabbi Köves's organization is a classical Chabad Lubavitch organization, and the Orthodox community is the third one, which is quite small. So that's how the picture looks like. And of course, there are a number of civil organizations. It's good, I think, that I'm dealing with the civil society itself, not only with the Jewish civil organizations, so they can ask me for support, which was previously not the case, because the civil society issues were in another ministry. But the new administration, the fourth Orbán government, decided to put the civil issues into the Prime Minister's office. So the things are coming together, because in Hungarian Jewish life, the civil society is classically very strong. So we are doing, and I'm really grateful for the words that you found, Ezra. We are doing a great deal of positive things and support for the Jewish communities, for the churches, and for the civil society. We are renovating synagogues, we are renovating cemeteries, just like it happened, or it happens in Szalay-Bobrovniczky as well, what Ezra mentioned. We also do support the Jewish inhabitants of Hungary by giving a lifelong compensation for their losses in a huge financial number. I mean, a great support, I would say. So the lifelong support, we give the pensionist support, we give support to the war survivors, and through the Hungarian Jewish Heritage Foundation, there are different applications possible. For example, the last interesting, or for you possibly interesting application was for the second generation Holocaust survivors that we spent 100 million forints on that issue, and it is applicable, and you have to apply for it, but you can receive, for example, support for your medicine, for your public transport, and all that. Depends on what you are asking for, what you apply for. It's in the first time in our history that we do acknowledge, also by financial means, that the second generation Holocaust survivors, they do have damages in their soul, and probably the first generation, of course, they as well, but the second and the third generation, they might have bigger problems in their soul, as you know, as we are. I was born in 1972, and I was born after the Second World War, and I have not lived in a war situation. For the second and third generation people who were also growing up in peace, it is unimaginable what people did with their fathers and great-grandfathers and all that. So that's the reason why the damages and why the problems, psychical problems, are in these generations probably even stronger than in the first generation of survivors. So we also do that one. So different kind of supports to the Jewish community. Inside the Jewish community, life is not so easy. As we have to see that if I may say, there is a Hungarian saying that whenever two Hungarians turn up, there are going to be three opinions. So
I thought that's a Jewish.
the same goes for the Jewish people in Hungary, and in a certain sense, the two big congregations, Mazsihisz and the other one of Mr. Köves, they are on not very good terms with each other. And that's a problem that is reflected in the Hungarian politics, is reflected in every issue, and we would be glad if we could moderate here, but there is no possibility of moderation. We did it many times, we tried it many times, but it's, the relationship is so complicated that it won't, how should I say that, it's not too easy to moderate there, but I today have already asked for a ministry and also elsewhere if they can help to tell those leaders that you just have to simply sit down with each other and talk to each other, otherwise you won't come to a conclusion. People have to talk with each other no matter how strong the conflict is. We, of course, we the government talk with everybody, but we cannot solve their internal problems. This is their duty, so to say, to solve that. That's a major problem that has to be solved. I hope so that it will solved. Both of the leaders, Mr. Heisler and Mr. Köves, are still for a long time in their office. Mr. Heisler definitely another 3.5 years, and Mr. Köves is probably even longer. I don't know. I don't know how are the elections there, but in the Mazsihisz, in the Neolo community, there are real elections, like political elections. And András Heisler is a strong figure, and you might know him. He's a very nice guy. We are on very good terms with each other. But of course, this conflict with Rabbi Köves is something that we cannot unfortunately solve. But we do our utmost, also in financing both congregations' major projects. To tell you one that will be soon handed over. This is a synagogue in the Rumbach-Sebestyén street that the Hungarian government supported with 3.5 billion forints, and this is more or less ready. And to my knowledge, the Prime Minister is willing to, the Hungarian Prime Minister is willing to take part in the celebration. Of course, we don't know the date yet, so it has to be it has to be dealt out, but the plan is that he will participate there. Also, these religious institutions keep up social institutions, even a hospital. The Majlis has a hospital that the Hungarian state supports with yearly more than 2 billion forints, so a huge amount, and it's an important part of the Hungarian health system. So we do what we can, and we do see these relations in a very positive light. 75 years of remembering the Holocaust. We have had events. We are going to have events, and of course, we have honored the two important events. The Prime Minister visited Auschwitz, the major commemoration, and our President of the state visited Israel also in January. So we are internationally, we also participate in these things. If I may come back to the Jewish Heritage Foundation shortly, because you mentioned that Ezra regarding the Olafliska cemetery issue, we still have a huge number of almost 500 million forints to divide this year for cemeteries in Hungary. You have to know that altogether in the small territory of Hungary we have 1,600 Jewish cemeteries. So Jewish life was flourishing in Hungary, and then came the Holocaust, unfortunately. Still, the Jewish life, as I told you, and as also Ezra said, is a vibrant, and we can even call it Renaissance, if I may formulate like that. And it's also important internationally. I mentioned it in a speech on the commemoration of the Budapest ghetto. The people were not happy about this, but I didn't really understand why. That it was, I think, 2019, the first year that the numbers changed, and there are today more Jews living in the world than before the Holocaust. Of course, the Holocaust itself is the tragedy itself, but still, I think we have to be happy that the plan of the Germans and the plan of the Nazis didn't succeed, and the Jewish people are today in bigger number than before the Holocaust. Many found it, I guess, cynical, but there was no intention of cynicism in that. Just a positive mentioning that the plan of the Nazis didn't succeed. So that's what we basically do, and that's what I do. And I thought that, of course, after an introductory remark that I had the chance to give you, more reasonable would be that you can ask me if you want to, so we can come into a conversation as if I could speak here until tomorrow, or I don't know, a week long. But I think it makes more sense that slowly but surely I hand over the floor to you, and you can ask me, or you can ask Mr. President Szabó, or also the embassy, our deputy head of mission, Mr. Hetesi. Anyhow, I think I'm done with this introduction. I gave you some moments where you can hang in and you can ask me. So I will be delighted to have a conversation with you.
Thank you very much. Rabbi Shankar,
I'm very sorry to be brief and go because I'm at a conference and I have another meeting waiting, but when Ezra Friedlander says something important, unless you have an emergency, you do what's important.
This is Rabbi Levi Shantov, the Executive Vice President of the American Friends of Chabad here in Washington, D.C.
I actually spoke with Rabbi Kovish earlier today, and he has a session at exactly this hour. So that's why he's not here.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say two things. One is there are various opinions about what should happen with Hungary, and your ambassador knows this because I met with him not too policy. The policy about Lubavitch is that I take the direction of how to interact with various governments and countries based on what my colleagues who live there tell me is happening, and not who's winning the PR war here, right?
Right.
So in terms of your accommodation with him and the community and different things that I know Overlander has been working on with you in the community, and also what Ezra's been doing to restore the glory of the Liska tradition there, your cooperation with them is much more important than what somebody writes or doesn't write, who really doesn't know very much except for what they've been fed, right? So the homegrown facts coming here and being amplified is much more important than the PR campaign, number one. The two, just before I conclude, I wanted to know what you meant about you cannot solve the conflict. There are many organizations that will come to Budapest and tell you what to do, but they're not Jews who were born in Hungary or came from Hungary, or even in Rabbi Overlander's case, returned to Hungary where his father or grandfather came from. How can you say that the credibility of one would be more than the credibility of the other? I mean, Rabbi Kovich's fame, by the way, is not the first Hungarian ordained rabbi, but the first Hungarian who was ordained a rabbi. He was in my yeshiva, I remember he came from Budapest. So I think that the fact that he was born there, grew up there, speaks the language native, should count for credibility. So what is the conflict? I mean, why can't Hungary have this community be without conflict?
So the conflict itself.
I want to add just one more point. Especially since the positive contributions to general Hungarian society, including the I'll call it rehabilitation of a white supremacist leader, or whatever the equivalent is in Hungary, Nazi leader, finding his Jewish roots, bringing him back to his Jewish traditions, and showing the positivity in Hungarian society, which counters so much of the negativity that came out there. Wouldn't you say that it's in the interest of Hungary to bolster this community instead of consider it a conflict?
No, I was just honest with you. So I'm not here to give declarations which are sounding well in the media, but it wouldn't be true. I told you the truth that this conflict, this personal conflict that is between the two leaders, is very difficult to solve. Probably I formulated I cannot solve it. We do our utmost to solve it, but it's not dependent on the Hungarian government. You have to know this. It's an internal conflict that is reflected on the Hungarian government. We both, the Hungarian government acknowledges the work of Rabbi Kovic a great deal. He's also personally a good friend of mine. We also acknowledge what Mr. Hazler does, who is probably, if I may say, politically seen a bit more critical with the Hungarian government as any other players would be. But they have a problem between each other. I would characterize the problem with who is leading the Jewish community in Hungary, which is a question outside of the Hungarian government. András Hazler says that he is the head of the Jewish community. Regarding the Hungarian law, there is no head of the Jewish community, because András is the head of the Neo-Local community. Shlomo is the head of the Chabad community, and Eduard is the head of the Orthodox community. These three guys are equal in our view. If we would make a separation or a division that András is the Neolocals are more important than the Chabad people, then we would do the wrong thing. That's the core of the problem. Basically, the problem on leadership, who is leading the Jewish community. But they, especially András, should understand that it's not an important question that, I'm the leader of the Jewish community. Who cares? I mean, he's a leader of the Neo-Law community. He's deputy head of the European Jewish Congress. He's deputy head of the World Jewish Congress. What else do you want? I mean, he's influential and all that, but for him, sometimes it's a bigger challenge and a bigger problem to fight against Shlomo than anything else. That's what I'm saying. With it's very difficult to solve this.
I thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, I think it's important to take back to Budapest the message. I don't think Rabbi Kovic wants anyone else to cease to exist or not to function. That's not his primary concern. His primary concern is that, unbeknownst to most people in America and in the American Jewish community, Budapest has Hungary has 125,000 Jews today. Nobody knows that. And I think that it's because of Rabbi Kovic's efforts that all of this is being heard, not only in this room, right now, at a conference of a few thousand people 2 miles away from here. So I think that that's an important thing to remember, that I think that the government might be doing the right thing in saying it's not our place to make a religious decision. It's our place to respect the space.
Right.
And I'm happy that you clarified it that way. And one day I'm going to answer one of the many invitations. I got to come visit Budapest. I got close. I got the pride. Next time I'll go to Budapest and I'll see you. We'll discuss this further. I don't want to take up too much time, especially since anything is.
Thank you. You are invited by me for a division. No,
That's like the seventh invitation I got.
That's like
I'm not going to cave it. I'm actually going to go. But good luck, and I'm actually probably going to see him a little bit later this afternoon, so I'll tell him
Shlomo.
what you said, yes. He's like a rock star, he's a rabbi that has only one name, I understand.
So I hope that you take this message as a positive message, especially regarding Shlomo, who is really a good friend of us. Sometimes I'm critical with András Heizler because he's critical on us of issues that we do not understand why. But anyhow, he's a Jewish leader, so he says what he wants. We are not going to...
It's very simple. It's very simple because there's a certain currency in Western thinking and in political realities of other countries that I'm not going to question why he does what he does. I'm just going to say that the effects of what he does might be what he's aiming for. And one last thing before I go. Obviously, I represent the Szalay-Bobrovniczky community, which is very strong. But I want you to know that any community that you will support in growing and developing and even to come and reclaim its illustrious heritage from before the war is universally appreciated.
Okay.
So sometimes it's a matter of an official taking a piece of paper that's at the bottom of their pile and putting it at the top of their pile, paying a little bit of extra attention to something which may not be at the forefront otherwise. Just know that whenever those things are accomplished, they resonate very loud back here in the U.S. Okay?
I do appreciate that, yeah. I got the message. Thank you, sir.
Look at the camera for a second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You want to add something?
If you have any question, please,
Thank you for having me here, Ezra. A few things. First, everybody ought to know Rabbi Shemtov. I just have to say to everybody here how grateful we are to you, your family, but especially your father, who created this wonderful dialogue we have in the United States and around the world between governments and the Jewish community in the United States and worldwide. I'm a Catholic, as you may recall.
Undercover.
I learned all about the traditions and values and observances of the Jewish people at your father's knee way back in the 1970s. And I was a Hill staffer up here, and we were working on putting the menorah on the White House lawn and holiday time and all sorts of other related issues, including the beginning of the preserving and protecting the cemetery issues, which ultimately got to Szalay-Bobrovniczky. And Ezra, I think just last night you had a wonderful event at your home commemorating the transfer of the cemetery from the government to the Jewish community.
I know about this.
This is a remarkable achievement. I visited Szalay-Bobrovniczky in 1985 with your uncle Dave, who was, I think he's still the chaplain at the Maimonides Hospital in Brooklyn. And it was shockingly sad what we saw. The tombstones were both vandalized and broken and overturned. grass and trees and sort of overtaking the landscape. And it was just such a terrible juxtaposition of sort of what life was before the war and what life had become even 40 years after World War II. And I think it's safe to say that our visit to Szalay-Bobrovniczky so many years ago now was the catalyst to create the American Commission for the Preservation and Protection of America's Heritage Abroad, which has helped save so many cemeteries across Eastern and Central Europe. And I think it's truly gratifying to me as a Hungarian American from Rakamaz to see such a day happen where the cemetery is now in good hands with the Jewish.
Which is also the Tokaj region.
The Tokaj region, you know,
right.
Putno's 5, the only wine I drink. But we have cooperation between the Hungarian national government, but also the local governments, which is so very important to making sure that a rebuilt and refurbished cemetery stays in pristine condition, so that people, Jews and others, can go visit it and have some memory of the great life that went on before. I think you know what others won't, that on our visit to the cemetery there so many years ago, we also had a chance to discover the home of your, I guess it was your great-grandfather, which was still existing. The synagogue had been destroyed by the Nazis, but this house, now occupied by a Hungarian family, still existed. And it was remarkable that the older woman that lived there took us to the back of the house. Essentially, we Americans might call it a garage or a barn, perhaps, which had served in pre-war Hungary as the mikveh for the town. And not only was still the bathing facility was still there, but on the walls were Torah scriptures. It brought all of us to tears to know that this still existed. And we knew by that there was hope that one day you would have an event at your home like you had last night. So God bless you and you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All you do for the Jewish community, but also for all of us who need to learn lessons from history. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ezra, since I'm running late, can I just say one thing about what Michael
Sure.
said? One's a bit more humorous, one's more serious. And since I'm late already, I might as well get an extra word in. One is that you were talking about when you have two Hungarians, you have 3 opinions.
Right.
It's equally known that when you have 2 Jews, you have 3 opinions.
Right.
I'm wondering whether you have Hungarian Jews and you have 2 of them, whether it's 4 or 6.
That's
Now,
good.
when you talk about getting the menorah that's in front of the White House to be allowed there, years ago, my father went for help to Joe Biden, who was his friend and who he used to spend hours chatting on the train back home every day. And he says to him, I need your help to try and get the menorah installed on public property, and they're giving me a hard time. And then Senator Biden said, why are you coming to me? Why don't you go to all your buddies in the Jewish Federation in Philadelphia, who had been his supporters when he started his Senate campaign next door in Delaware? So my father answered him the truth. He says, because to be quite honest with you, most of them are against it. Because back then they were against it and they came around. So I do not deny that dealing with our community can be complicated. That was the first thing. The second thing is, I will share with you an experience that I had with a German diplomat with whom I became very good friends. He comes to me and he says his whole life went dark. What happened? He had just come on documents that proved beyond a doubt that his grandfather was a Nazi. And he says to me, what do I do? I said, there's nothing you can do. I said, you have absolutely 0 control over what your grandfather was. At the same time, you have absolute control over what your grandchildren will say that their grandfather was. And that's what you have to think about.
Yeah, sure.
Hungarians of our age cannot undo history, but we can create history. So I hope that the Hungarian government understands what the grandchildren of they will say their grandparents were is completely up to them right now. Sorry, I need to go. That's all I have to say.
Thanks. May I just very shortly, one story. My grandfather, from my mother's side, was a high-ranking soldier in the interwar period. He served his country. We were on the wrong side. Everybody knows that. He saved Jewish lives twice, and one of them, he He was a philosemite, if I may say it like that. One of the actions was that he was leading the group of a munkaszolgálatosokat, hogy mondjuk labor force, the people labor force.
Forced labor, it was...
Forced labor, Jews were in this forced labor. And what he did was that if he had marched in with these people to Budapest, they would have been deported. So what he did is that, I think it was somewhere in the south of the country, he said that you go now, I let you go, flee wherever you can. And so he could save many lives, because as if he had taken these people back to Budapest, they would have been taken by the Nazis and the Hungarians. No matter they were the wrongest people. So my grandfather has to do with Jewish people, and in a very positive way. Although he served in the Hungarian army of Admiral Miklós Horthy. So these are fates. You cannot undo history. That's right.
But you can create.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. So, György, Mr. President Szabó, signalized to me that he would like to say a few words. So I hand it over to him, and I would like to ask you to forgive him that he will say it in Hungarian. I will be translating him because his English he would like to say it in Hungarian. Let's put it this way. He speaks perfect Hebrew and Hungarian, but not English. So, György, please.
Köszönöm szépen. Köszönöm Ezrának,
Thanks for Ezra.
Gabinak, hogy itt lehetünk. Ugye hosszú ideje dolgozunk együtt, talán 10 éve, hogy először olasz viszkáról beszélgettünk.
They are working together with Ezra since 10 years.
És ugye talán olasz viszka volt az lehet azt mondani, hogy a mintaprojekt, ami aztán mutatott a többi temetőnek a felújítása irányába is.
Probably Olasz Liszka was the project itself that showed the way towards the restoration of all the rest of or the restoration of other Jewish cemeteries.
Sokat vitatkoztunk egymással, nem értettünk egyet egymással, de aztán a végén minden rendben lett.
We have had many harsh discussions and debates, but finally we agreed.
Hát, úgy gondolom, hogy elég szomorú arról beszélni ma,